Well, good evening, everyone, here from Finland. And we are working ahead to help stabilize an unstable situation. Um, this perhaps being the most dangerous time of the entire present presidency. The Association of Psychiatrists, I don't know what name they go under, but they've considered, in the case of an erratic person with, I would say, a narcissistic personality disorder, that this time of apparent defeat, when maybe some 50 or so days, maybe a little more, remain until the inauguration, is a dangerous time, erratic, um, and all the forces that can stabilize the psyche of the United States are needed at this time. So we conduct this meditation vigil, and it is specifically for the purpose of guarding the will, the democratically expressed will of the people of the United States. And then, if we're really going to look at it, to help overcome the kind of dictatorial populism which has expressed itself of late in a number of countries, who will only be strengthened in their dictatorial tendencies if there is failure in the United States. And since we know that every method, so many of them essentially unlawful, are being attempted at this time, we have to remain vigilant, and thus we do. So let us then align with the will to good, and since each of us has, we might say, a little piece of the divine will, the democratic solution, I don't mean the party, I mean the principle, the democratic solution which allows all aspects of the will to express themselves freely and fairly, is the means by which that will to good can be expressed. And along with it, the will to the beautiful and the will to truth. We cannot abide that the lower forces comprising the rebellious dweller on the threshold, we cannot abide that it win the battle with the angel of the presence. And so the lines of demarcation, let us realize, are now very clear. The great Lord says, I come to bring not peace, but the sword. That's often misunderstood, but it is the sword of discrimination between good and evil, between the forces that attempt to express the angel of the presence and the forces which promote the strengthening of the dweller on the threshold. It is as if we form a kind of guardian wall of light and love and sacrificial will around the peoples of the earth, and especially at this time, the peoples of the United States who are engaged in such a consequential battle. So we sense our participation in this guardian wall. And that we know that every soul-inspired thought and action and feeling arising within us is part of the success of this guardianship. Of course, there are great beings who work for the expression of the plan, but all within the law. They cannot compel the will of anyone. That is according to the Syrian law of freedom. So every nation will have its greater solar angel, as will all of humanity. But for the moment, we think about the angel of the presence of the United States carrying the indigo ray and the musical tone of that great second ray. And we seek to align with that great being who has the welfare of this nation at heart and operates within the law to uplift the soul of the American people. And by extension, of course, playing its role in contributing to every national elevation. So we align imaginatively with that great being. And see these energies emanating from this guardian, pervading the psyche and the energy system in general of the people of the United States and by extension, still further, internationally. So that there may be a living up to the potentials. DK said, yes, much suffering lies in store for that great people, but it's in the interests of the soul expression that that suffering occur. Shambhala, we know, is coming closer and closer to humanity. A mutual rapport is being set up with the various Shambhala impacts and with other energies emanating from Shambhala. All that is working out, light, love, power, and death, is part of the Shambhalic will. The three great lords, the Manu, the Mahachohan, and the Bodhisattva, are those members of hierarchy who respond especially to Shambhala. And there is an overseership of the Master Rakotsi, the regent of the United States and the regent of Europe with its new experiment, the European Union. The three great lords seek to unify humanity and not see further selfish, warlike divisions. Let us realize that we can be part, however small a part, of that unification. And every day, in our very humble contacts with others, whether in person or virtually, we can find ourselves promoting that unification. The 5 planetary centers of the 5th root race, our present root race, will be activated in such a way over the next 100 years that each will be recognized as the residence of a particular master of the wisdom and of his initiates and helpful disciples and aspirants. More will come during the 6th root race, probably with an activation of a center in South America. Not yet designated, but certainly known to the masters. And each one of us presently is working in connection primarily with one of these 5 centers, the most active of which are New York, London, and Geneva. Geneva being highly esoteric, but still outwardly visible as one of the points of expression of the United Nations. So in working for the United States, we do align particularly with New York, but bearing in mind the other 4 always, and especially First Ray London and Second Ray Geneva. The full activation of Darjeeling will probably come later, maybe the last of all, and Tokyo can be in a position for activation. Within the much divided United States, 3 great centers can be brought into harmony instead of contention, as is now the case. New York, the throat center, and also the planetary center, with its silvery blue light, its second and third ray as a city, and the heart center, Los Angeles, the city of the angels, shall we say, particularly Leo in its nature. Not much more is given there, but the golden light of the heart center, growing in strength and pouring forth. And for a while, Washington, D.C. as the head center, with its Cancer Sagittarius energy, and perhaps the true color red for the first ray, but eventually to be merged and blended into New York. We're not told when or how. These 3 centers, and there are others, maybe Chicago and Kansas City and New Orleans and Boston, as has been speculated, for the Ajna Center. But if we can bring harmony, see harmony between these centers representing 3 major rays, then we can see the 3 branches of government working in harmony along the first, second, and third ray lines. And when the harmony comes, then the United States of America will be able to live up to its motto, I light the way, for which the Statue of Liberty, as the gift from France, is the symbol. A great light on psychology, on spirituality, on right human relations can emerge out of the present division and turmoil. And all of this All of this will be for the fulfillment of the Christ energy, which will certainly grow in power during the 6th subrace of the 5th root race, now beginning really, and during the 6th root race, in which the Buddhic energy, which is the Christ's own energy, whether he is here or not, or has moved on, but that energy will grow. So, in emulation of the great Lord, let us embrace humanity. We see this magnificent statue over Rio, no doubt going to be a very important center in the 6th root race. And we too have to embrace the nations of the world and the various states within the nations, and really, finally, every human being who essentially is part of the great human entity, every one of which is a member of the 4th or 9th grade of hierarchy, depending on how we number them, the hierarchy of human monads working out Buddhically. We dwell for some moments on the attitude of the Christ towards those he attempts to save and attempts to teach and attempts to understand as the most profound psychologist that our humanity has produced. What we need is this sense of the ongoing wheel spinning towards full enlightenment and towards loving kindness and loving understanding. And we can form that mudra that we see here, the mudra of the wheel. We can hold that. The wheel is turning, and we are moving closer to the points of tension at which the masters live, and even one day at which the Christ is living. These successive points of tension indicating initiations. But first, we have to overcome the disharmony, the friction, the division, the Martian vibration of warfare between the brothers and sisters, and this cannot be allowed. The three centers of government, for instance, within the United States, the first-ray executive branch, the second-ray judicial branch, and the the second-ray legislative branch, and the third-ray judicial branch, so filled with argument regarding what is legal and not legal, these must be brought not into competition with each other, but into harmony with each other. Solving some of the worst divisions that have existed within the United States since its inception. Only the Civil War of the 1860s was its equal. And on another turn of the spiral, a civil war is psychologically raging between the proponents of the dweller and the proponents of the angel of the presence. But if the indigo ray can be released, and pervade every state in the Union and the psyches of all people, the Martian vibration, useful in some ways at some times, but not useful now, can be overcome. And we'll ponder on that overcoming with the indigo ray released. Because there is a deep harmony in this second ray. And the fourth ray tends, with all its conflicts, eventually to resolve onto the second ray, sometimes the third, but most often the second. So under this love wisdom ray, we can see true cooperation between the major centers of government here pictured. And the irritation, the discord, the chafing, the disruption of the heated astral body can be overtaken by the rose color, silvery rose, a more esoteric color for the sixth ray, which obviously is the ray of the astral body of the American people. And a condition of greater calm in which rationality can prevail and soul impulse can prevail. can be enacted. With the pervasion of the rose color. The blue and the rose, aided by the devas who work under those colors, under Master Kutumi's supervision. The blue and the rose. So let us try to set an example through our astral body and through the Kama Manas, which we do use and which puts us on rapport with many who have not yet risen to a more strictly mental focus. Because somehow an example must be set over these next 4.5 years before the great conclave. There will be many forces of opposition, but we know what are the energies we must assert to neutralize the opposing forces and to bring more and more people into that state of mind where they understand the cause of the conflict. We call upon the Lords of Liberation in Shambhala at this time, and especially on the Lord of Freedom, aligning with the Syrian law of freedom, liberty, especially close to the energy of Aquarius, now moving into greater power. And we align with as much of this higher will as we can appreciate, helping to bring in the love which the will demands. Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service, of the saving force, has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming One. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. Great is the moment of opportunity at this time. The greater the light, the more obvious the darkness. But if we adhere to the law, the higher turn of the spiral for Saint Michael being the planet Saturn, the planet of the law, the planet in so many ways of truth, then the nation, now so divided, can become a law-abiding nation, a nation of laws and not of persons. So we can visualize this Saint Michael vibration in the midst of it all. The great planet Saturn, bringing through the legislature laws which are ever closer to divine law, bringing the sense of justice instead of bias and prejudice to the Supreme Court of the land, so that their deliberations adhere to a deeper sense of true law, and of course to the Constitution as rightly interpreted. And the willingness of the executive branch to carry forth the law lawfully, instead of selfishly, materialistically, and personally. We pause for a few moments of silence to see the beneficent effect of Saturn in the midst of the difficulties. lawful procedure. And the defeat of the worst divisiveness of Mars by the planet of the divine plan, Saturn. We can rebuild what selfish personalism has almost destroyed, and in some cases actually destroyed. But we must be intent on doing so. We protect the integration of government through the sevenfold wheel of divine love. At the very hub of this wheel, we place ourselves and all true servers, radiating forth the 7 colors of divine love, representing the beneficence of the 7 ashrams, and drawing into unity and close cooperation the major branches of government, so that the divisions may be healed and the country may be stabilized in democracy. And the effect of all the ashrams may be working out beneficently within the United States and throughout the international community and throughout the personality of humanity. And the desired unification occur. So that indeed, ascribing to its motto, the United States of America may light the way, psychologically and in a manner humanitarian, and in terms of the new Aquarian spirituality with which the soul sign of the United States places it en rapport. Working from deeply within, as we attempt to do, and in the service of the great Lord, we may hope to contribute a little bit to the stabilization of the hierarchical form of government. Which foremostly is democracy. Demos, the people. Rule by the people, and not by some dictatorial overlord who is hardly Plato's philosopher king. So may that be. All of the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle. Thank you, friends, for being with us, for meditating with us. We'll continue again tomorrow. It'll be at the, well, let's see. I'm just realizing that we do have the pre-full moon meditation. So followed the next day by the actual full moon meditation. So there may be some adjustments in when we offer the vigil, or even there may be a necessary postponement of it while the full moon work is being done, and also the work of the sacred pentagram, so related to the full moon work. So just check your schedules and check the calendar that you can find on Makara. Meanwhile, lots of love and many blessings from Tuya and myself and from the whole communications group. And this will be on Makara, www.makara.us, quite soon. So we'll keep working together to stabilize and advance the cause of democracy. Many blessings.